The sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy. Hello, everybody. My name is Al Person. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church. That's my email address. Or you could leave a comment below. If you like these, like, share, subscribe, send them off to your friends. Okay, so what's the purpose of this playlist? What am I doing here? Well, the purpose of debate or discussion, debate, let's say, is for the seeking of truth. It's not to prove that one is right or one is wrong. So I think we all understand that, but oftentimes, especially in controversial issues, I've got to prove my point, The other guy says, no, I got to prove my point. One guy says, you're an idiot. The next one says, you're an idiot, and back and forth. And it really doesn't get anywhere. And third-party observers think, well, this is really bad, really, really bad. The purpose of a formal debate, a public one, or even a formal written one, or something similar, is not to change the opinion of the person you're debating with, although that has happened, but it is rather to influence the observer, those who watch what's going on. Now, in these sorts of discussions, and we see them all the time, there are logical fallacies that creep in. And I'm going to dedicate this playlist to looking at some logical fallacies. We're going to start with some of the more obscure ones, those a little farther on the outside, before we come into the main logical fallacies that everybody knows about or that are more commonly known about. And that's just a reflection of my personality. I like these odd things, but sometimes they're really enjoyable and they help us to understand each other or ourselves. Now let me read to you the definition of a logical fallacy here. I'm not going to put a lot of this stuff up on screen. I'll just read them. You can look this up on the mighty interwebs. Logical fallacies are flawed, deceptive, or false arguments that can be proven wrong with reasoning. Okay, that's straight off the top from The Best Schools. You see, that's the kind of idea. That's the website is called The Best Schools when I plugged that in. And so they're failed arguments. So they're often categorized, they're often grouped as a type of logical fallacy or whatever. One of my very favorites, one of those and I think it's my favorite because it has touched me personally, I've had to deal with it in my own life, is a fallacy called the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy. What is that? What does that mean? How could that be a logical fallacy? A sunk cost fallacy is a fallacy wherein one of the contributors to a discussion has put so much effort and cost into the position that they're trying to defend that even though they're proven to be wrong, they're never going to change their mind on this, or they're never going to change their position. So we have to make some stuff up here so as not to point any fingers or whatever. I could point to myself, but some of those are pretty esoteric topics. Let's say that your position always has been that white sugar is healthy. And you were paid by the sugar lobby to write books about it, and you were a national speaker on the whole topic. White sugar is healthy, okay? And you now have an opportunity to engage with somebody who has quite a contrary opinion to yours. And you engage them in that discussion, and they put you into a corner, not a hard corner to get into, that says white sugar is probably not that healthy. It may not be healthy at all, and maybe only a small amount might be tolerable. And you know in yourself that the other guy is probably right, deep down in your heart at the deepest level. But something keeps you from either admitting it or either to that person or to yourself. What is that thing? The sunk cost fallacy may be that thing. Something that says, yeah, but if I say that, I'm going to say that all my books were wrong. All of my previous assertions about my position were wrong. Everything I used to believe was wrong. All the money I received for all this was received in error. Or, oh no, there's no way I'm backing down on this. Now you have a couple of choices. You can walk away from the discussion and end it altogether, and just be belligerent. Or, of course, you could say, well, I guess I was wrong. Okay? Now, the funny thing about the sunk cost fallacy is observers, people who watch someone holding on to the sunk cost fallacy, very quickly lose respect for the person holding on to the sunk cost. It's surprising how it happens. They'll say things like, just admit you were wrong. We would respect you if you did. But no, instead, they're holding on to a position that becomes less and less tenable over time. Is this very common? Absolutely. What has made it more common than ever? The internet, Twitter, social media, because you don't have a chance to back down graciously. It's frequently a war of accusations and so on. Okay, so I'm going to get you a more formal definition of the sunk cost fallacy and then some suggestions that might be useful. Let me read this here. This is from dictionary.com. I just found it on the mighty interwebs. Google was my friend. The phenomena whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they've invested heavily in it, even when it's clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. And it says in a quote, the sunk cost fallacy creeps into a lot of major financial decisions. Okay, you've just won enough money in the lottery to buy you a Bugatti Chiron, $3 million or whatever, 4 million, I don't know, somewhere around there. And you just wanted one all your life. And you get the $4 million and you order your Bugatti Chiron, one of the most exotic cars in the world, about $4 million or whatever. I don't know, don't worry, don't quote me on the dollars. And the thing turns up, and you drive it for a while only to realize that just to change the oil is a $20,000 expense. The tires cost more than a holiday in Bali. You had the money to buy it, but you do not have the money to keep it. The insurance is through the roof. Everything about this thing is phenomenal. It's just frightening. Will you admit to someone that you made a mistake and you blew your $4 million on this car you shouldn't have? Because you can only sell it for about two, maybe not, maybe no one, maybe no one's got the money to want to buy one, who knows? Well, if you are one who says, I'm going to hold on to my Bugatti, I'm just going to put it here and just pickle the thing and let it just keep costing me money, that may be an example of the sunk cost fallacy. Okay, so it's a very common fallacy. It's very, very common on the internet. It's become my favorite go-to fallacy. Are you arguing the way that you are because you've been too heavily committed in your past position? So how do you protect yourself from that? Well, stop being too assertive about your position. Realize the other guy may actually have a point or two to teach you. Instead of saying, I know that I'll win against you in a discussion or a debate or whatever, soften your approach and say, let's seek the truth on this. It's a lot easier than stomping around and looking foolish, okay? The other side of this is that you can identify the sunk cost fallacy in a discussion you're having in order to keep the discussion on track. You can say, I think you have a sunk cost here. Let's do that. The fundamental advantage of knowing these logical fallacies is your ability to bring a discussion back on track and keep it around the facts. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the list of fallacies that we want to have a look at in the future. We'll just go through these, and if you have one that you'd like me to address and to talk about, let me know. And I'll add it here. All the talks will be like this. They'll be casual, and they'll be just something you can flick on and say, you can actually run this at a faster speed. I'm not showing any screens or anything, but why would you want to play me as fast as I talk at a faster speed? Well, just to get me over with, I suppose. Let me put this up on the screen and show you some of the fallacies that we're going to talk about going forward. The sunk cost fallacy, the stolen concept fallacy. Oh, this is so interesting. Bulverism. What's bulverism, Al? The straw man and the steel man. A little bit more common, but when you see it through my eyes, I think you'll enjoy it. The Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, so we're going to look at some of those fallacies going forward. For now, however, we've just taken a few minutes to look at the sunk cost fallacy. That is, I've sunk so much into this, there's no way I can back down. I hope you enjoyed this. Like, share, and subscribe. Oh, and by the way, I've got a couple of others that I'm going to talk about, but I need the permission of the creator of one of them to be able to use his fallacy in this discussion. I'll talk to you later.